In today's video, I want to touch on a little bit of an interesting topic. I've spoken about this briefly in videos before, but I really want to expand on it and delve into it in a whole video in today's video. So that topic is none other than similarities between sets. And I think what we can realize by looking at similarities between older sets and new sets is essentially how they're going to perform in one way or another. Now look, there's caveats to that and I'll touch on that, but let's just jump straight into the video. I'm going to bring two sets up here to highlight the point that I mean. Now, when it comes to Pokemon card sets, there's only so many things you can do, isn't there? Like, of course, they've got to follow, themes of the games a little bit. And of course, there's types of Pokemon. There's only so many types of Pokemon. And generally speaking, you're going to follow some sort of themes, aren't you? Like if we look at one of the best sets, if not the best set of the last 10 years, Evolving Skies, okay, we've got the Evolutions inside there and Dragons. So it's a Dragons / Evolutions based set. If we look at something like Surging Sparks, it's an Electric / Dragon based Pokemon card set. Now, the two I'm going to start up with on the screen here are two very similar sets. One is from XY era, that is Phantom Forces, and the other one is from Sword and Shield era, which is, of course, Fusion Strike. Now, exciting fact, Fusion Strike is nudging on $1,000 US. We are nearly there with our second booster box from the whole Sword and Shield era, getting to $1,000. The first one, of course, being Evolving Skies, and now Fusion Strikes. So let's take a look at the two sets quite closely. Both of them are Ghost Psychic based sets. Now that is really important in the grand scheme of things. Ghost Psychic based sets have always performed very, very strongly as a sealed product on the market. And as you can see, when we look at the top 5 chases, they're quite similar there. Look, there are of course some discrepancies, but we do have Gengar as the main chase card. Now on top of that, of course, Fusion Strike has the Espeon and Muse. Phantom Forces has the Silver Dialga card, but if we look at the top 5, there are some similarities. Now if we delve into PSA 10 populations, here's where a little bit of the caveat comes into play. You'll notice a massive difference between PSA 10 population in Phantom Forces versus Fusion Strike, and this is the big caveat I want to talk about when it comes to future box prices, because that's essentially the topic this video is getting to. We look at Phantom Forces and we can go, that's a $10,000 booster box, and we can look at Fusion Strike and go, that's a $1,000 booster box. And we can go to ourselves, well, if they're quite similar sets, they've got quite similar price chase cards, they're similar sets in that they're Ghost Psychic, does that mean that in 8 years' time, Fusion Strike will be worth $10,000 as well? That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? If we all had a crystal ball, we could tell that straight away. But here's the caveat I wanted to talk about. The PSA 10 populations for a lot of older booster boxes are super, super low. Now, I get it. When we're talking booster boxes, there's an interesting audience when they start getting older. Some people will literally buy the sealed product as a collectible. But still, the intrinsic value that could possibly be lurking inside there is really important. So not only does the raw price matter, but that grading play to a PSA 10 really matters. Why do you think EX era booster boxes are so damn expensive? Why do you think an EX Deoxys booster box, an EX Team Rocket Returns booster box, you've got the chance of pulling a gold star? And not only that, if they grade a PSA 10, the multiplier effect there, like a Gold Star Rayquaza from EX Deoxys or a Gold Star Torchic, for argument's sake, from EX Team Rocket Returns in a PSA 10, I mean, name your price. Like, they're $100,000 US Pokemon cards at the moment. It's insane. And that's where the difference comes from in these two sets. The Gengar, for argument's sake, its population's so low, it's a $10,000 US card in a PSA 10. That adds some level of intrinsic value to that booster box. Now, if we look at the Gengar from Fusion Strike, its PSA 10 population is so high that its value is quite low in comparison to Gengars from Phantom Forces. It's not a cheap price. It's not a cheap card at all. It's quite an expensive card still as a PSA 10. But you get the point I'm trying to make there. That's the caveat. That's realistically one of the only differences. And look, print numbers come down to it as well. Phantom Forces no doubt was printed a lot less than Fusion Strike. People hoarding it away, of course, might be a lot less, of course, now for Fusion Strike versus Phantom Forces. But look, some of those things are a little bit debatable in some way, shape, or form, and it's not a video about that. But I'm just giving a couple of caveats of how they might differ. But the big question still remains is, will Fusion Strike eventually be a $10,000 booster box like Phantom Forces is? And the answer in my eyes is probably yes. I think not every booster box is going to that price point. It's just not, because there's not the popularity around it. But when we look at XY era and we look at, you know, sets like Flashfire and Phantom Forces, and maybe even a set like Ancient Origins, for argument's sake, they're going to be expensive booster boxes. Then we fast forward to eras like Sun and Moon, and we see sets like Team Up and Cosmic Eclipse, and we can say same thing. They're probably going to be $10,000 booster boxes. Then we get to Sword and Shield, and we go, probably the top three might eventually become $10,000 booster boxes. Evolving Skies will probably be a $10,000 booster box. Fusion Strike will probably get to a $10,000 booster box at some stage, and maybe even a set like Lost Origin might nudge that as well. So to answer the question, you know, will it get there? Quite possibly. The fact remains though, we can really draw similarities from these sets. Now, not just booster box sets, we can also do it with elite trainer box sets as well, so holiday sets. And before I show you the holiday set I want to delve into, I just wanted to give a shout out to today's video sponsor, which is of course the Collector app. You can download the app, it's very easy, link in the description. You can scroll down, you can see my journey inside there if you wanted to watch it. The big one now is in set analytics as well. You can jump into any set, you can see the top hits inside the set by filtering from price high to low. You can also see the volatility and top market movers from a set, and the total set value of a set. If you've been tuned into this channel for a while, I always talk about the importance of the total set value, which predominantly comes from the top 5 or top 10 chase cards. These are what adds value to a sealed product, and of course the singles inside there. And the big one now is a new thing in the app that everyone's been asking for, is realized gains. Because at the moment it shows your collection and what it's worth and what you paid for it, and then unrealized gains. But now you can mark when something's sold and lock in your profits. So we're going to start seeing realized gains inside the Collector app, which is an awesome new feature which is being launched silently in the background. So again, link in the description to download that one. Now, elite trainer boxes. So elite trainer boxes is the main product, I guess, from holiday sets. Holiday sets don't have booster boxes. And here's another two on the screen I wanted to give you a comparison with. That is Hidden Fates and of course Paldean Fates. I've skipped Shining Fates, but if we go back to Sun and Moon era, we can see Hidden Fates and Paldean Fates, same thing. They're similar. They've both got shiny vaults, of course. We can pick up heaps of cool shiny cards, and they've got, you know, somewhat similar chase cards in the fact that we've got a big chase card in the Charizard from Hidden Fates, and we've also got that spectacular Bubble Mew from Paldean Fates, which is really setting that set on fire. It's going absolutely crazy in there. And the fact, of course, we've got the full shiny vault for each set. There are similarities between these two sets. Still, personally, I think Hidden Fates is a better Pokemon card set overall, but you would argue now that maybe Paldean Fates has got the bigger chase card. That Bubble Mew just seems to be completely popping off, doesn't it? That is a very, very sought after chase card from the Scarlet and Violet era. Now, if we look at the set prices for them, and then we look at the Elite Trainer Box prices, Hidden Fates has sort of stagnated over the last couple months, but it did pump up recently to a $400 Elite Trainer Box. We compare that to Paldean Fates, and it's sitting, what, 200 to mid 200s as an Elite Trainer Box. So again, the big question is, Hidden Fates isn't that old compared to Paldean Fates. It's only about 4 years difference between the two sets. So in the next 4 years, you know, are we going to see a double in price of Paldean Fates? Is it going to get to that $500 Elite Trainer Box price like Hidden Fates? And the question really is, why wouldn't it? You know, very similar Pokemon card sets, it should do that. It should, look, it's had massive gains over the last 12 months and 6 months in particular, but it should, of course, over the next 4 years, double in price again to see similar reflections as Hidden Fates. So that's the really important takeaway I want everyone to get from this video, is that there are similarities between sets. And I'm not going to bring this up on the screen, but I'm just going to give some more anecdotal examples. Something like a Lost Thunder, which is that mid-tier Sun and Moon era before we hit the tag team sets, which is just sort of this, I wouldn't say forgotten about era, but it's not that hyped up era. You know, a set like Lost Thunder, okay, it had the Lugia Rainbow as a chase card, had a couple of sort of trainer cards inside there that were worth a little bit of money. It sort of reminds me a little bit of Silver Tempest. Silver Tempest had that massive Lugia old art as an awesome chase card. It's also got the trainer gallery, which adds more value to it. But, you know, most people were saying, especially for a long time, that Silver Tempest was just a one-hit wonder. You either got that Lugia or you didn't. Of course, the Rayquaza from the trainer gallery, in my opinion, is really nice. Plus, there's some other nice cards from the trainer gallery, like the Blaziken, for argument's sake. But it sort of gets compared, in my eyes, if I were to compare it to any set, it's sort of a little bit like Lost Thunder. And look at the prices of Lost Thunder, both Elite Trainer boxes and booster boxes. Now, they're not setting the world on fire like Cosmic Eclipse or Team Up, but they're still performing really, really strongly. So you can say the same thing about Silver Tempest. It's probably never going to set the world on fire like Evolving Skies is, or Fusion Strike is, or Lost Origin's about to do. But it's going to perform still pretty well in the background. It's going to be one of those mid-level booster boxes from the era that just tick along. Now, fast forward to Scarlet and Violet, and we talk about, okay, what can we invest in now? And you can say the exact same thing. There's going to be 2 or 3 booster boxes from this era that really, really take off. There's going to be a lot of those mid-tier booster boxes and then probably those poor performing booster boxes. And it's probably a good idea to compare them to other sets in the past to see where you can make better purchasing decisions. And when we look at the Elite Trainer boxes or the holiday sets, same thing comes into play. You know, what can you compare those sets to in the past that have performed really, really well? 151, for argument's sake, I almost compare it a little bit to something like Generations, the 20th anniversary. You might go, well, that's a bit stupid because you should compare the 20th anniversary with the 25th anniversary set, but they're quite different sets in my opinion. I actually probably compare 151 to Generations. I think, and it's already showing the sort of gains that Generations shot up in price really, really quickly, that 20th anniversary set. Elite Trainer boxes became very expensive very quickly, and we're seeing the same thing with 151. Elite Trainer boxes are getting very expensive very quickly, and if we look at Generations prices now, that's probably a similar place where 151 Elite Trainer boxes are going to be in the future. Plus, we now got that multiplier effect of having Pokemon Center Elite Trainer boxes with the stamped promos, which just add more and more value to those sealed products. So there you go. That's today's video in a nutshell. I'm Michael. This is PokeOz. Catch everyone next time.